All right, welcome back to the Bronx Tales, presented by House Enterprise. We got James Boycitz and Will Tondo. And folks, you heard it all week. I'm sure there's plenty of fans that you find insufferable and you call this World Series rigged, but it's the best World Series and the best outcome for baseball. The New York Yankees return to the World Series and they face on the Los Angeles Dodgers. And like I just said, it is good for the sport. Judge, Ohtani, Soto, Giancarlo, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Garrett Cole. It is star-studded. It is impressive. It is finally here, and I feel great. And I'm the weight off of the chest of a fan of just the weight off the shoulders as a fan of finally getting to experience this as an adult and getting over the hump and having a great playoff so far. We are now at the World Series. And James, I mean, I'm sure you have similar feelings, but I'll let you kick things off.
It was so beautiful. When Soto catches that ball and you're like, the Yankees are going to the World Series, it just didn't feel real. Like, it was like, oh my God, like, is this really happening? Like, are the Yankees really going to the World Series? And if it wasn't for that man who, I don't even want to talk about the contract, but he has been the difference with this team. He is the reason why they're going to the World Series. All year has been the difference. And coming up with the biggest hit imaginable, one of the best at-bats I've ever seen as a Yankee fan. And him getting that 3-run homer that honestly off the bat looked like a pop-up. And then I saw it carrying. For him to hit that. And I had confidence going in before that at-bat. It's like, Soto's up. We'll be fine. And I couldn't, like, it was just like I knew he would do something great. And
it was poetic.
Truthfully,
it was.
It still was shocking. I was like, oh my God. And, I think we'll get to Judge later, but you could see the relief of this 15-year drought of not getting there. Astros cheating 2017. Cashman talked about it on Mad Dog about that. Like, to see that number not be a thing anymore, very, very nice to see. And I'm really excited. And I think they got a good shot to win it all.
No, I mean, it was a sense of relief, especially, Judge did not have a great Royal Series, had a much better Guardian Series. I feel like he is now warmed up where it's like, I'm expecting a great series. Now, again, the last time he was at Dodger Stadium, broke his toe last year and pretty much derailed the season.
Not in right field, no.
Yeah, not in right field anymore. So let's hope that doesn't have to happen to Juan Soto. But there's just so many things from this. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, ALCS MVP, the, 4 runs and 7 RBIs that he provided were just, he looks so locked in. And it's like, you and I have talked about this multiple times over the season. It's like, that's a guy you want for the postseason baseball, and having a decent season's one thing, he turns it on come the playoffs. And he's truthfully becoming like a second captain on this team. And I believe even Boone said, it's like when he speaks, it doesn't happen often, but when he does, people listen. And it's like, you could just tell it in his demeanor, his approach at the plate. He is made for this. And then arguably too, I mean, Giancarlo won that MVP of the championship series. Juan Soto is right there with him, having very similar stats and providing the obviously moment that brought us to the World Series. I feel very confident in all of the team right now on this week's matchup.
Yeah, I am too, and we're gonna get to that. But just to talk a little bit more about the Guardian series, when Stanton hit that homer to tie the game, I knew we were winning right there, because Yankees can't get a hit. The Cleveland pitching seemed to not matter and Yankees get criticized all the time. Well, they just kind of hit home runs. They can't play small ball. They're incapable of doing the little things. Well, Michael Kay has said this all week. It's hard to make contact in the playoffs because you're facing the best pitching. So when you do make contact, you got to hit it over the fence. To me, Stanton, what he's been doing in this postseason is so needed for just his narrative, because a lot of people hate that trade, even I don't know about still, but like at one point, even a couple months ago, they hated the trade that brought Stanton here. Didn't hate it at the time, but like as years went on with his injuries, it's been very criticized. I think it's also been merged into this conversation. Well, because that happened, the Yankees didn't get Bryce Harper, when really it should be on Cashman. Bryce Harper should be playing first base for the New York Yankees, but he was closed-minded and did not see that as a possibility. So I think that also goes into the Stanton hate. But how could you hate what this guy does, man? And not even that, the answers in the post-game press conferences being like, doesn't mean anything until we get a ring. I mean, it's amazing to me how this guy gets the hate that he does. And I think it's not going to happen for a long time. You know, I don't think we're going to see that hate. Excuse me. I don't think we're going to see that hate for Giancarlo Stanton anymore. I mean, after what he's done.
I don't think so. No, I totally agree with you. And, you know, talking about that, you know, Guardians team, and the one thing that really stands out to me was everyone was talking about the bullpen. When this matchup was announced, it's like the Yankees will not be able to hit against this bullpen. And when you look at the overall standings and statistics of bullpens in the major league, in the regular season, the Cleveland Guardians were the best bullpen in baseball. They had a 2.57 ERA. They had over 50 saves.
Apparently, the next Mariano Rivera, too. Emmanuel Clase.
Emmanuel Clase, you know, touted as the next Mariano Rivera, but they led the league in strikeouts. They had the least amount of home runs and walks given. They had a 1.05 whip, which was the lowest amongst the entire, you know, MLB. And then in the playoffs, they still were a top 5 bullpen, right?
Yeah.
The Yankees knocked the starters out, and I wouldn't say feasted on the bullpen, but they held their own and they closed out games and got things done. And that is exactly why I'm excited about this upcoming matchup, because the Dodgers starters have not fared well this playoffs. Primarily because, you know, they do not have guys like Kershaw and who am I blanking on that's also hurt? Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, Glasnow.
They're running on a 3-man rotation essentially of Yamamoto, Jack Flaherty, who is the game 1 starter, and Walker Buehler.
And Jack Flaherty was awful.
Last
time he was
awful.
He was also brilliant in game 1, but yeah, he was awful in game 5.
So when you go back to that statistics of their bullpen, though, as the Dodgers in the regular season, they were the 5th best bullpen. Very much higher numbers than the Guardians, but they were still, you know, a top tier bullpen. And in the playoffs, they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were 6th, right just below the Cleveland Guardians in overall statistics. 3.16 ERA. They had 53 strikeouts, but they've let up 6 home runs compared to Cleveland's 7. If the Yankees knock out the starters early, I'm fine against that bullpen as well.
Yeah. And I think what I needed to see the Yankees do versus the Guardians, you know, a lot of people had them in 6 games. I had them in 5, but this honestly should have been a sweep, right? If we're looking back at that game 3, which was insane. I think what I needed to see was, can the Yankees hit against this elite bullpen, which they did. And they didn't just hit against this bullpen. They embarrassed this Cleveland bullpen. That was so great. Everyone told us was amazing all year. The best closer in baseball embarrassed him. You know, like that means something to me. So when people say the Yankees had an easy road to the World Series, I'm not going to disagree with you that, yes, I would rather play the Cleveland Guardians and the Kansas City Royals over teams maybe like the Houston Astros or Baltimore Orioles, just for my own mental sake. Not just they were the better teams all year, though, so we can't look at it like that.
I think it was a mental thing, though. It's that you know, we have not been able to get off the Astros. They've been this dark cloud over us for the past few years, and the Orioles being a very, you know, sound team the past 2 seasons, as well as the AL East. But yes, the AL Central, much easier in retrospect of things. However, the Guardians and the Royals are 2 very good teams. And at the end of the day, they knocked out the people that we were just talking about. Now, again, the Tigers knocked out the Astros, but by that default, the Guardians knocked out the Astros with no problem. And of course, same with the Royals and the Orioles and such. So I don't like the argument either.
Well,
And
what I
again,
think, yeah, go
take it
ahead.
one step further. I'm sorry to interrupt,
No, you
but the Yankees also had two guys in Bobby Witt and Jose Ramirez who are, MVP type candidates if it wasn't for Judge and Soto,
Mhm.
did not make them look like MVPs in those matchups as well.
No, and you know who got a lot of the hate? Judge did. Now listen, Judge deservedly so got a lot of hate, but not talked about enough was Bobby Witt was awful in the Royal Series, and Ramirez didn't do anything. Like this was, Ramirez basically got a Jazz Chisholm homer. You know what I mean? Like
It
the game
was,
was
yeah,
over,
the
and,
game was over. It was guys like David Fry and Steven Kwan that kept
yeah,
opening the door.
exactly. And you look at that game 3 loss, it just seemed like that was lightning in a bottle for Cleveland, a team that doesn't hit home runs all of a sudden basically hits. I know that was a double, but it was almost gone, you know. But then, I mean, Noel with that homer was in the next game, him that line out to that fly out to Verdugo looked gone. Like he just hits the cover out of the ball, And then Fry obviously won the game for them. I mean, I don't blame Clay Holmes. It sucks. I blame more Luke Weaver for that. But I think what I needed to see was, yeah, Cleveland and Kansas City are not going to kill you offensively, but they got there because of their pitching and starting pitching, bullpen pitching, all pitching. And the Yankees were able to hit off that. So when we look at the Dodgers and their offensive lineup, well, I don't think the Padres are a really good pitching team. Okay. And also a very good offensive team. And that series was a bloodbath. So there's no doubt about it. The Dodgers have played better teams. But when it comes to the pitching, the Yankees were able to hit elite pitching. And the Dodgers, their bullpen has done a really good job, but their starting pitching is not elite. And so the Yankees could see that as like, hey, just like a softball. They could, the ball could be just bigger to them. And they got offensive talent themselves, and hopefully some guys wake up. And I do think, and I said this at the beginning of the postseason, I do think a lot of the pressure is a little bit off Judge now because they're in the World Series. So now against a team that he usually performs very well against in the Dodgers in the regular season, I think Judge is going to make an impact here. I really do. At least I hope he needs to, but I actually do think it will happen. And I think Stanton's going to continue to be Stanton. I think Soto's going to continue to be Soto. Glaber hopefully keeps doing what he's doing. I love what I've seen from Anthony Volpe. And the pitching, it's going to come down to the pitching. The starting rotation has to be better. They have to go long. And the bullpen for the Yankees has to be lights out like they've been in this postseason so far. And if you take all those things into consideration, that's why I have the Yankees. I know the Dodgers are favorites and the Yankees are kind of underdogs. I think too much is look at the Celtics in the NBA, man. They had a light road. In fact, it affected my finals choice. I had the Dallas Mavericks over Boston just because of the road, and it meant nothing. The Celtics were a better team, right? So the road doesn't mean anything. I know the Dodgers had a better regular season record. They got a lot of injuries in that starting rotation. I think the Yankees have what they need.
I agree. And I think too with, it's a World Series. There needs to be a quote unquote underdog, especially with all of sports gambling being such a massive component in professional sports now. I truthfully see it as a 50-50. It's a
Me too.
pick 'em. I think it's any given player, any given day, any given series. The biggest worrisome for me is that nerve factor of guys being, so young and so unexperienced in the World Series. I mean, Judge hasn't been there. A lot of our guys haven't, even though some of them are considered veterans, like a Giancarlo. It is nice we have players like World Series champions in Juan Soto, Anthony Rizzo. Garrett Cole has been there before, and he's becoming one of the best postseason pitchers, in recent history. But on the flip side, they also have that with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. And Kershaw, who although is not pitching, is someone that you have as that, clubhouse morale as a longtime vet. The biggest thing for me, and I see as a worrisome on both sides, is like, I don't think it's going to be a long starting pitching game. I more so on the Dodgers than the Yankees. The Yankees, you got to have those starters in there for at least 5 innings.
Yeah, especially Cole.
Especially Cole. But, we there was times during this past Guardian series where it's like, holy shit, we're bringing Weaver out again. Now, granted, there were a lot of close games, but we were having Luke Weaver doing 6-out closes, which is just crazy. And he is a absolute dog, and it's just so been fantastic this postseason. But this, and we're very fortunate we had the extra day of rest, and this first game isn't obviously until tomorrow. But the bullpen, I feel like, is just I don't want it to burn out yet.
Yeah, and I think that's what the Yankees have to do. They have to pitch. They have to continue to pitch their ass off, because I honestly think the bats with the Dodger pitching will be there. I mean, I really do think that. Not only are they capable of doing it, but it just on paper it makes sense. But this isn't Cleveland. This isn't Kansas City. You're facing really good bats. It's good that you made Bobby Witt struggle. It's good that you made Ramirez struggle. Okay, but this is a whole different animal. This is like Bobby Witt, Jose Ramirez being on the same team. Even better, right?
Right.
You got Mookie, Ohtani.
And on the flip side, though, if you look at the statistics, I mean, Tommy Edman and Will Smith, as well as Kike Hernandez, have been really the forefronts of this Dodger team thus far.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm nervous about those bats, because when you have firepower like that offensively, you're never out of a game. And here's another thing I needed to see, because I went to game 2 of the Royals series, and when the Yankees were down 4-1, I felt like the game was over. And quite honestly, because the Yankees hadn't proven really all season, to me, they proved that they can win close games in September, but they hadn't proven that they can come back in games. And what I saw in the Cleveland series was they can come back in games. I know 2-0 doesn't seem like a big deficit or anything. It's not. But when Stanton hit that homer to tie the game in game 5, I was like, the Yankees are winning this game. And in game 3, I thought they were dead. This is just not the Yankees' night. And Judge hit that huge homer, and then Stanton hit it right after that. And then they got the insurance one. Like, the way that game ended was just so fluky to me that it proved that the Yankees could come back in games. So that's something I needed to see. And it's something they're going to need, because the Dodgers are never going to be out of games with that offensive firepower. They're never going to be out of games. So the Yankees pitching has to be there. They have to continue. And to be honest, they probably got to be even better.
Need to be better. I mean, we have the game 1 matchup. It's Flaherty versus Cole. It's in Los Angeles.
Like, I feel like the Yankees got to get that one. Like, I mean, I'm assuming Yamamoto pitches game 2, so
you got to take one in LA, and the reason
you got to get one in LA.
And I'm very curious to see the atmosphere in Yankee Stadium this World Series, because the Bronx in October is freaking incredible. Both you and I have experienced that. The environment is incredible. However, the get-in price at Yankee Stadium, now again, it's not just Yankee Stadium, it's both sides, is disgusting.
It's stupid. It's annoying for
I don't know how people are going to this game. Now, there's people that are just swiping the credit card and saying, fuck it, which I respect.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's like a month's rent, right? So
it's definitely a month's rent. It's probably not even like, it's probably more.
So again, like, I do expect the environment at Yankee Stadium to be great, but I am worrisome of the actual crowd level, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. Yeah, listen, the reason why they're that high right now is because people are buying them. So, I thought, in fact, I think it was cheaper like 3 days ago, and then it just spiked up completely. Now it's like 1,600, like get in. I think before it was like 900 or 1,000.
700, and I wish I pulled trigger.
Yeah. I mean, like 600-700, fine. That's good. Like, but fucking 1,600, that's ridiculous. So
like, that's my worrisome too. Is like, you take one in LA, and I truthfully believe that Yankees fans are greater than Dodgers fans. There's more true Yankees fans than Dodgers fans. And And I do think there's a good West Coast presence of Yankee fans as well that can make it to the stadium if they are spending the money. You got to take one there. I cannot see a loss at Yankee Stadium if the crowd is right.
Yeah, I hope. I really want to win this in 5. I just don't think it's going to happen. The
No,
Dodgers are just too good. I
I
just
have
think
it in 6. I think it goes to 7.
I wait. What'd you say?
I have it in 6. I
Mhm.
think it goes to 7.
So you want it to go to 6, and you think it'll actually go to 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have Yanks in 6 as well. Actually. I think if the Yankees are going to win the series, like, I think 6 is where I
It
would
just
take it.
helps because like the reason I'm saying that too, and again, I'm not just being a cocky Yankee fan. Like I do believe the team is better. It is nice on the matchup that you have Garrett Cole at 1, which means you get him at 4,
Yep.
and you'll have him at 7.
Yeah. I'm going Yankees in 6. For the reasons that I laid out. Um, Also keeping Ohtani doesn't play well against the Yankees. He never has. And I don't think you could take the series that they had this year seriously. That's not the Yankee lineup anymore, and Soto did not play in that series. So the Dodgers took 2 out of 3, but the game 1 was close. Soto didn't play. Game 2 was a blowout. Game 3, the Yankees won. And, quite frankly, I just
The
look at the
regular season
starting.
doesn't matter.
Regular season doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, something to acknowledge. I believe the Yankees have better starting pitching. I believe they have a more well-rested bullpen. It may not be better than the Dodger bullpen because you got to admit the Dodger bullpen, what they've done is pretty exceptional.
Great, but also every 4th game is a bullpen game.
Exactly. So you got to take advantage of those. It's going to feel sickening if the Yankees are not capitalizing off those opportunities, and we've seen a lot of that for the last 15 years. I'm going to try and enjoy the ride as much as I can. I do believe this is a bloodbath of a series, though. 7 games is definitely on the table. It's probably what baseball needs. I'm taking Yankees in 6 because I believe the only thing the Dodgers have that's significantly better than the Yankees is the lineup, but the Yankees also have a really good lineup as well. So I believe they, with a more well-rested bullpen, better starting pitching, and a lineup that mashes well too, who has seen elite starting pitching up until this point, the ball's going to look a lot bigger. That's why I have the Yankees in 6. I also think the Yankees would win a game. Well, Cole would probably pitch game. You think Cole pitches game 4, game 5? I guess it depends on how the series goes. But if Cole pitches game 5 and they win at Yankee Stadium, because that's what they do, right? 2-3.
Yeah, it's 2-3. It's I believe it's 2-3-2.
Yeah, so if the Yankees win game 5, which I actually think they would, then I think they would capitalize and win game 6. But that's just me.
I think it definitely shakes up what the series is. I mean, if they are down or tied, Cole is pitching 5 no matter what.
Yeah.
If they are up or feel confident in a tie, I still think he pitches 5. My biggest worry is some of the pitching right now is, Marcus Stroman is obviously on the roster, has not pitched this entire postseason.
Yeah.
Could be a pro, could be a con.
I was a little stunned they didn't use him in the Guardian series.
I was stunned, especially back to back with Luis Gil. The other one, now, I love the attitude from Nestor Cortez. I love it. Especially from some quotes that were miscued earlier in the season about him moving into the bullpen and stuff. I fucking respect it.
Mm-hmm.
However, if he is throwing at 75% against Ohtani,
I am so with you. I don't want hurt Nestor. And he's done this in the playoffs before. Like that game versus Houston, you could tell. I think it was game 4. It was the game we got swept. He didn't have it that day, and he tried to push through it, and ended up costing them. So I hope he's not too emotional.
Yeah,
because he's someone who ideally on paper when healthy is a massive weapon for this team. But if he doesn't have it, I don't want to see it, especially with the way the Yankee bullpen has looked.
Yeah. I'm curious what happens with the roster. I mean, it seems for me, Gleyber Torres, lock at 1. He has been a fantastic leadoff hitter. And now he is making the conversation much harder of, I'm in the boat where you got to bring him back. And people are talking about the unless he takes a discount and the what's it called? Apron they're at with the taxes and stuff, that his contract would eventually be like every dollar is $1.60. So a $20 million year is actually $32 million. Conversation for a later day, because Juan Soto is the priority. Again, later day. Gleyber Torres becoming indispensable, great at 1. You then have Juan Soto. You then have Aaron Judge. Put Giancarlo in the full 4 hole and Anthony Rizzo at 5, or you can flip the 1 or 2. Volpe found his stride. He's doing great. Austin Wells definitely warming up as needed. Need more from Jazz. Need something from Jazz.
100% need more from Jazz.
Need something from Jazz. And
I'm not. Yeah, go ahead.
Verdugo has been very solid as well. And again, you can bring in a guy like Oswaldo. I'm curious to see where we're at with DJ LeMahieu. I hope he's not on the roster. I haven't heard much.
He can't play.
Yeah, he can't play. I'm fine with keeping Birdie on the bench. I am curious, though, if they bring in like a Duke Ellis back into the mix because of speed, but I don't think it's necessary.
No, it's not necessary, I don't think.
I don't think it's necessary. So it's just curious to see what happens on the pitching front, because who did Ian Hamilton get hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his ankle. But listen, give Leiter credit, man. And I was so nervous when Leiter came in. I was like, oh, this guy's been giving up homers ever since he got here. And he's coming in with runners in scoring position. And when Noel hit that, pop out to Verdugo, I was like, oh no. But he was great. And he was great. Like, it's so hard to just come off the couch and now you're on the team, you're on the playoff roster, and you got to perform. And he did. And he found himself in that spot where the Yankees just blew this 6-2 lead and he kept it. And I know that play screwed up at first base. In my opinion, Rizzo's got to catch that. I mean, you could blame Leiter for how he handled it, but it's a comebacker. It's hard. Rizzo's got to catch that ball. Rizzo's been brutal at first base defensively, which is a concern I have. Like, why is Rizzo just incompetent defensively at first?
I don't think he's been terror. I don't think he's been that bad.
He's been pretty bad, man. Like, I just, in my opinion, like, just some of the stuff is just alarming for me. And like, I saw like Birdie making plays that Rizzo hasn't been able to make. So I hope that's cleaned up. The base running mistakes, it's going to haunt this team in losses. So you got to clean that up. The Yankees have pretty good depth, so I'm all for Cabrera getting in for defense at the end. Whatever needs to happen there, and Birdie can steal bases. So I think that's why I wouldn't put Duke Ellis on the roster, because you can always use Birdie. And Verdugo has to be in left. You could pinch hit Dominguez if things get really bad, if you're really not hitting, but Verdugo in left, definitely the move. And Volpe's been great. But as far as Jazz goes, I'm not for benching Jazz, even though they can do it. I don't know. I feel like benching Jazz does no good, even though he hasn't really been productive. I like his energy, his arm at third. I just don't. I see no reason to bench Jazz, even though his playoff performance so far has not been good.
Not yet. Nothing to concern just yet, but it is something to keep an eye on. And I also think a hats off to Boone this playoff run as well. I think he is definitely silenced a bunch of people, but again, both him, Giancarlo, everybody else, job's not done. You celebrate in the moment, 100%. Job's not done, and I do appreciate their mentality behind that. That yes, despite the quote unquote drought, and again, everyone was laughing at Cashman's comments about the Astros today on Mad Dog. I think it was stupid, because it's like, dude, we're beyond that. It has been a while, and it's like we got to focus on now. And it's been relieving. It's been refreshing. It's been nice, and I'm thankful to be able to be in the World Series. If they don't win it, I still find it as a disappointment.
Well, of course, it's always going to be a disappointment. I wouldn't call the season a failure.
I'm not saying a failure. It's just
no.
The Dodgers are a talented team. You cannot doubt it. Anything can happen, but job is not done yet.
Yeah. The thing is if you do lose in the World Series, you got to be thinking, all right, how can we make this team better? How can we beat a team like the Dodgers? Like you got to bring Soto back. You got to make sure maybe you're more athletic, maybe you really touch on the base paths more, like find out why it wasn't. And we're going to find out. And we're also going to find out Ohtani versus Judge. We're going to find that out. And I hope Judge is ready for it, man, because I'm sick of the Ohtani stuff. I need Judge to perform in this. And listen, Ohtani's an unbelievable player. I think he'll eventually get his, but I hope not this year.
Let's hope. Let's hope. All right. Well, you'll hear from us. We'll see how it goes. We might be live streaming again during it, but win or lose, hopefully after a live stream from the Ticket Tape Parade, we will be very happy fans, and we'll get back to you. But James, always a pleasure. Let's go Yanks. Job's not done.
Job is not done.
Let's get it after it. But we will see you next time from House Enterprise.